This is the Hollywood Outsider. This is not your normal Hollywood Outsider podcast, so if you thought you were tuning into that, you should probably check out a different episode. This is actually a spoiler cast. This week we are going to talk about a show that's getting a lot of attention called Game of Thrones. Season 2 is getting ready to start on April 1st, which we're putting this episode up actually the day of Season 2. We are going to talk about this show itself, how Season 1 ended, what we like about the show, what we didn't like, which with most of these guys is not much. What about the show really clicked with us, and then we're going to talk about a lot of the storylines that are involved and really what we foresee for Season 2. So with me today, of course, is Scott Clark.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. Justin
Winter's
McCumber.
coming.
Winter's coming. Actually, it's War is coming now. Season 2's War is coming. So apparently something's always going to be coming in this fucking show.
So winter already came and went?
Yeah, apparently. I don't know. Justin McCumber, hello.
You're living in my eye.
A giant named Macumber.
And that's Brian Williams. How you guys doing?
Excellent. How are you?
Fantastic. What do you guys... Well, first, let's dive into this. We've never done a spoiler cast before, so please give us credence. We are trying to figure it out as we go.
And if you have not watched this show, you need to turn... And not that we like to turn people away from listening to the show, but turn off the show.
It doesn't matter. We've got the download now, so it's all good.
Yeah, that's fine. But basically, when Brian stops talking here in a minute, that's when you should probably turn it off, because he's going to explain what Game of Thrones is. And then Justin's actually going to start with the spoiler part. So, Brian, what is Game of Thrones?
Really? Because I've got some pretty good spoilers in
All
here.
right, well, fuck it. If you're worried about seeing it, you probably shouldn't listen any further. But once you see the show, or if you don't care about spoilers, then feel free to listen on. And I promise you, I will be talking about one of the biggest spoilers in the show, so just
and
so you know.
how wrong you fucking are.
Exactly,
but we'll get to that.
According to them. So, Brian, what is Game of Thrones? Explain what the show is.
This is your last chance to turn back. But anyway, all right, the term Game of Thrones is a phrase used for the struggle of power in the medieval fantasy land of Westeros. The rules are simple. As Cersei Lannister would say, you win or you die. Westeros is broken into 7 lands, which are ruled by families or houses. The king, Robert Baratheon, rules them all. King Robert has to call on his trusted friend Ned Stark, who is Lord of Winterfell, to take the role of the Hand of the King after the previous hand had suddenly died. The Hand of the King is kind of like the king's right-hand man type of vice president type of job. Soon after King Robert himself dies and Ned is thrust into the political games he so hates and quite frankly is terrible at playing. So now several houses are jockeying for control of the 7 kingdoms. The primary players are the Lannisters of Casterly Rock, whose incestuous hellspawn Joffrey has taken control for the time being, with some help from his mother and queen, who is Queen Cersei Lannister Baratheon, but she was married to Robert Baratheon. So, but for the most part, she's a Lannister. Mm-hmm. A couple of the other contenders for the Iron Throne are the brothers of King Robert. The actual rightful heir is Stannis Baratheon, whom we haven't met in season 1, but he is on his way. He's a hell of a general, but the personality of a pissed off porcupine. So, Renly Baratheon is basically the total opposite. He's not very kingly, but he's loved by the people. And across the narrow sea is Daenerys Targaryen, whose father was in charge when King Robert overthrew previous management.
That's one way of putting it.
She's in exile, but she's beginning to amass a following, and she has dragons. Mm-hmm. So she's got that going for her. Last but not least is Robb Stark. He's the son of Ned Stark. He has assembled all of the houses loyal to his family, and he's moving south towards King's Landing, which is the capital of Westeros. And he's really not so much worried about the crown, but he's more hell-bent on revenge for King Joffrey removing his father's head from his shoulders. So,
spoiler.
There's a ton of secondary characters that helps drive the story as well. But
I think you forgot one primary character. That's Jon Snow.
No, not really.
Okay, go ahead.
Secondary.
Fucker.
Okay.
Edit that shit out.
Nope. Go ahead.
You fuck up my flow. So
It's still a Hollywood Outsider, apparently.
anyway, like I said, there's a lot of secondary characters like Jon Snow that drive the story as well, but we would have to do numerous specials to sort them all out. So if you want that, by all means, let us know at feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com, and we will bend Aaron's arm and make him give in. So till then, I will turn this over to Justin, who will catch us up to speed on where exactly our players are now going into season 2.
Well, as the season ends, a completely brilliant season, I might add. I'm going to go ahead and take these kind of by their location. First, let's go ahead and start in the far north, which is where Ned's family, the Starks, rule. Bran Stark, who is their child, who in the very pilot episode got pushed from a tower and fell. You thought to his death, but unfortunately for the Lannisters, he didn't die. He hung around. In the final episode, he, throughout the show, has been having dreams of this raven that take place down in the crypt where all the Starks who have died are interred. He ends up going down there and finds his even younger brother, Rickon, who has his dire wolf with him, and both of them have been having dreams of their father that drew them down into this crypt. What that means, we won't know. We'll have to wait and find out. Meanwhile, Catelyn, who is Ned Stark's now widow, is with their son, who's been on a campaign against the Lannisters. Catelyn and her son Robb are, of course, grieving over Ned's death. Robb vows that he's going to revenge his father and get to the Lannisters, but Catelyn reminds him that there's also his 2 sisters who are at the Red Keep, Red Castle. What do they call it?
I think it's Red Castle, but
I think it's the Red Castle. But when Ned went to become the King's Hand, he took his 2 daughters with him, of course, Arya and Sansa. Sansa was due to be betrothed to Robert's son, Joffrey, to become queen, and that seems to still be going forward, even though Ned's dead. But because those 2 daughters are their lives are of course in danger, and that's, Catelyn's daughters, and she's always got to be mindful of their actions and what that might mean for her daughters. But of course, they also have one of the Lannisters in their custody, Jaime Lannister, who was the one who pushed Bran. And in the final episode, he does reveal to Catelyn that he did push Bran from that tower, though he doesn't tell her why he did that. Then we move on to King's Landing, where Joffrey leads Sansa out to a bridge where she sees her father's severed head, plus the heads of the other Stark household mounted up on spikes. You can tell she wants to push Joffrey to his death off that narrow bridge, but of course doesn't. And then she's approached by the Hound, who slaps her for Joffrey at his command, because Joffrey's not going to dirty his hand, but tells his Hound to do it, and he slaps her and then advises her to obey Joffrey for her own safety. Meanwhile, her younger sister Arya, who's a little spitfire of a girl, I love the character and how she's anything but a little lady. She has no interest in being a woman of the court. She'd much rather take a sword and get to slicing on people. Arya managed to escape, and she's been in hiding. She's found by Yoren, who's one of the Night Watch, and actually a recruiter who leaves the Night Watch to go and find new people to take up and watch with them. He takes Arya, disguises her as a little boy, and the episode as it's closing out, she goes off with him, disguises this boy, and so we, of course, don't know what's going to happen with her either. With the Lannisters, Lord Tywin Lannister, who's played perfectly, I think, by Charles Dance, who, as soon as I saw him, I recognized him from Last Action Hero. He played one of the bad guys in that movie. He's talking with his followers about the setbacks that they've incurred in battle against the Stark and their forces. Not only do they lose important battles, but Jaime is in their capture. Because his grandson executed Ned Stark, that destroyed any hope for peace that there might have been. And so Tywin orders his son Tyrion played again masterfully by Peter Dinklage. In fact, I think he's got to be my favorite, but he orders Tyrion to go to King's Landing and to be the hand of the king so that he can try and get his grandson under control. And of course, against his father's orders, Tyrion, who has taken on a prostitute, takes her with him, even though his father forbids him to do so. So you get to see a little bit of him trying to stretch out from under his father's domineering. Let's go to the Wall, where you're going to find, apparently Aaron's favorite character, Jon Snow, attempting to desert the Night's Watch so that he can join his brother and avenge his father. Jon is Jon Snow, but he is the son of Ned Stark, the bastard son. And so there's, of course, all those issues involved with, being a child of a nobleman, but not really being able to take on any of the title or the advantages that come with it. He wants to leave the Night's Watch to avenge his father, despite the pleading of all of his friends. And he does leave, but they catch up with him, and through reciting the pledge of the Night's Watch, they convince him to return back to the Wall, where the overseer of the Night's Watch tells him that he knows what happened, but he also understands it, and he wants to take Jon with him when he goes goes through the Wall and heads north to counter the threat of the Wildlings and the White Walkers, and also to find Jon's uncle, who's the first Ranger, Benjen Stark. And then, of course, the big finale moment when you see Daenerys Targaryen, whose husband Drogo has died due to a wound he incurred in the betrayal of a woman who said she was going to be curing him, but ended up making sure he died as vengeance against the things that he and his people did to her people. With the death of her son and her husband, she puts them all on a pyre and intends to join them in their death. But of course, because she is of the blood of the dragon, the fires do not kill her. And the dragon eggs that were given to her as a gift in the pilot episode, she took with her. And of course, in these fires, those eggs have now hatched. And in the closing moments, you do see her with these 3 baby dragons, circling around her. And what does that mean for the future of her and her possible campaign to take back the throne that Robert Baratheon and Ned Stark took from her and her family?
Wow. Holy crap.
So it's a pretty simple story.
Yeah.
My mind is blown, and I watched the whole series. Okay, well, that's where we ended up. Now let's get into kind of why we liked it. Now, Scott, you're going to start us
How
off.
could you not?
Scott, you can start us off. What do you like about it? Now let's answer so people will know where we stand. Scott, Justin, and Brian love the show, right? Mm-hmm. Just love it, worship it, everything else.
It's one of my deserted island Blu-rays.
Wow. Okay. I liked it a lot. I don't love it, but I liked it a lot. Now, Scott?
Mostly because we recommended it.
Yeah, actually, I would never watch it if you guys wouldn't recommend it. That's a true statement. I really had no desire to watch it until you guys told me how awesome it was. Scott, what do you like about the show? He can start us off, and why did you
Well,
keep
I watched
watching?
it strictly on Brian's recommendation, went into this knowing literally nothing about it other than it was in a medieval setting, and had no idea what was going on. So watched the first episode and was very confused because I didn't know any of the characters. I had no idea what was going on. It was a very complex story, as you just heard Justin describe. Mm-hmm. So I actually...
Yeah, and that's like mostly from the finale.
Yeah, and a lot of that, yeah. So
that's the last episode.
I actually rewatched the first episode just because I didn't want to go into the second episode and further without kind of having some grasp of what was going on, and that was so helpful. But what do we like about this show? I like the characters. I like the settings. This looks like a movie quality TV show in terms of the sets, in terms of the acting, in terms of the makeup, in terms of the music. Just everything just feels like and granted, this is the first HBO series I've ever watched. So I have nothing to compare it to. Everything just, I feel like I'm in another world, like surrounding myself in this awesome story that I'm just so interested in. Every aspect of it is so interesting to me. And like Justin mentioned, there's all these different houses, the Lannisters and the Targaryens and the Starks, and it's so complex. But in most shows like this, when you shift from one area to the other, you always kind of feel, I don't know, you feel like, oh, I don't want to go to this story. I want to hear more of that story that I was just watching. And then you get into this story, and then they're like, okay, now I'm into this one. In this one, no matter which house I was going to, I felt, all right, cool, we're going to see what's happening here. I never felt like I was missing out on another story, because the way it's written, it all kind of works together at the same time in some of it, but it also keeps things independent. So outside of that fantastic stuff, there's a lot of really cool nudity.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, don't you make fun of all you want. There is some really entertaining stuff going on in there. There's also a lot of violence. One of the opening scenes the opening episode, there's a beheading. And I'm so used to seeing movies like this where right before the blade hits the neck, it cuts away and you don't see anything. And this is no holds barred, straight up. That was my first holy shit moment watching this. Is like, wow, this is the real deal.
Hell, there's a horse that's beheaded.
Yeah.
That part was pretty intense when he just cut the horse in half. That was pretty fucked up.
So those are a lot of the big reasons why I like this show. Just the characters. There's so many characters that I either love so intensely or hate so intensely. And for a TV show to elicit those kind of emotions from me, is just a major wow factor for me. I don't remember the last time I watched a TV show where I sat and stared at the screen and my mouth hit the floor.
We don't remember the last time you watched an entire series.
Me on a Spoilercast is kind of ironic. Isn't it?
Because normally we'd have to wait until the show's been canceled and the movie's been made. Well, we can all chime in at this point, but for the likes. But I really love the acting. I thought the acting is just fantastic in this show. The one thing I will say, I didn't like Joffrey. I don't like Joffrey. I think he's a weird looking kid and he's a bad actor. But everybody else, I think is fantastic. The narrative, I love any show where I have to pay attention. Not many shows anymore do you have to see everything. Like you could go eat your fucking cereal or go get a pop and you'll be fine. You can't do this. If you miss 5 minutes, you're probably going to miss a plot point. I like that. And the production, like Scott said, is fantastic. It looks gorgeous. Every week does look like a movie. I can't imagine that they're spending a fortune on it because it's a TV show budget. So I don't know how much they're spending or where, but the money is in the show. I mean, it looks great.
Season 2 got a uptick in the budget, and they're actually on location in certain, I believe in like Iceland. So they're actually filming ice wall type stuff in Iceland. So
oh wow,
that'll be cool. A little bit different this time around.
They didn't even need to though. It looked fantastic. Whatever they did,
it really
worked.
did.
Yeah.
Well, the show's filmed in Ireland, and man, it is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Ireland is pretty beautiful. My sister's been there a couple times, but why do you guys love it? I mean, you, Brian, and Justin.
Well, I love the rewatchability of it. I mean, like I say, it's so intricate that I've watched the whole thing front to back probably 5 times now.
Holy cow!
At least, and I'm still picking up little things. I mean, plot wise, you're not really picking up a whole lot more, but you pick up some of the characters. The secondary, the even 2-3 levels down. The smaller characters. You're seeing how they're reacting and how they're affecting things and how they're related to other characters. Take for instance the guy that's head over the night watch up at the wall. He is if I'm not mistaken, he's the father of the guy that's assisting Daenerys Targaryen,
mm-hmm.
Jorah Mormont. Like that's his father.
Oh.
Up on the wall. So
yeah.
And there's really no real reference to it. They just happen to have the same last name and little things like that. There's always something to pick up with this. There's, like I say, there's little things you can fit pieces together and it's fun. It's just fun to have that little aha moment every time you watch an episode over and over again. I loved hating. I know that sounds weird, but Joffrey, I totally disagree with you. I thought he was a good actor, maybe not great, but there has not been many people that has made me hate them or hate their character like he has.
I'm with Brian, actually.
Doesn't he look weird?
I don't care.
looks weird.
Yeah, it's part of it. He's a snot-nosed little, and
Product of a brother and
process
sister.
stuff. Right, exactly. Incestuous bastard.
He's supposed to look funky, like 6 toes and stuff, like he's from from Brian's country.
Right.
Wow. Yeah, it was coming.
So, in Sansa, I want to, I just, for probably 5-6 episodes, I just wanted to shake her going, what the fuck are you thinking?
Mm-hmm.
Get away from this guy. Even Ned Stark says, look, we're packing shit up. We're heading back north. And she's like, no, he's like, look, I'll find you somebody nice and strong and honorable and all this stuff. She's like, I don't want anybody like that. I want Joffrey, and because she's got this image, she's, got this image that she's going to be this queen of King's Landing and all this other stuff. And she doesn't want to give any of that up. And plus Joffrey's cute. And I mean, how it ever, we all were as kids. I mean, there's always somebody, some girl or guy, whatever the case may be, that strikes her fancy, and he's a good looking kid, and she likes him, and he just happens to be the heir to the throne.
He's not. He's not a good looking kid. He's an ugly, fucking weird looking kid. He's just weird looking. Weird.
Well, when you compare him to so many of the other characters, he becomes off as a little better looking, but he is the crown prince. He will be the king. Right. That will get you so much more trim than good looks ever could.
Why do you think Steven Tyler gets so much pussy? Look at that fucker.
That's interesting. Classy. I do. I don't want to say I like this, but it's an interesting aspect to me to see it in a TV show, because back in those days, women weren't treated like they were worth anything, which I disagree with, obviously, but that is how women were treated, and blacks and minorities of any kind. What? I'm not trying to be a racist, but it was interesting.
No, it was the way you said it.
I don't want to get fucking harpooned, but it was interesting to see it portrayed in a television show, especially in this day and age, because there's such an outcry every time you portray any stereotype, no matter how factual it is. Nowadays you have to portray something that takes place in the 20s, and you have to make sure everybody's like high-fiving and shit and riding in the front of the bus, and it just doesn't happen that way. But this actually portrayed women are treated like objects for a large portion of the show, and I was actually impressed with that. I don't like it because obviously I respect women, especially hot ones. And, I like that they did that. I like that they actually, tried to some degree, even though this is set in a mythological place and everything else, that they tried to honor, this is how it would really be if this was a real place and you were really there. It wouldn't be like we're all equals, because we're not. The men have their place, women have their place, da-da-da-da. That's really how the stereotypes flow. I thought that was interesting, especially this age today, doing that. So.
One of the things I like about the show is that it is set in this fictional fantasy world, but it's not filled with wizards and magical effects, and there's not all sorts of unicorns and shit constantly prancing across the screen. It doesn't slap you in the face with the fantasy elements. And so, you don't get that heavy-handed element that I think so many fantasy movies or TV shows can really fall prey to. This is a show about the people. And so it focuses on those people, and those people are incredibly fascinating. There is very few characters that don't have dark and light in them to varying degrees. I think the only characters that really were just evil and nothing but, one is Viserys, Targaryen, who is the brother of Dany. The guy is just nothing but ambition.
He's another one that I love to hate.
And he told his sister flat out, I would let him and all 40,000 of his men fuck you and their horses if it will get me what I want. Immediately telling her, girl, you are worthless to me except for the name and the blood that is in you. And just that sort of base villainy, you have to love him. When he gets his fucking comeuppance and gets that liquid gold, molten gold
that was awesome.
poured over his face and head, yes, that's exactly the kind of death that a son of a bitch like that deserves. But all of these characters are complex. None of them are there just to fill an archetype. they all have failings. And I love that because far too much fiction, you get these epitome type characters that are too good or too evil. This is full of shades of gray, and that's just fascinating. Mm-hmm. But for me, the standout character has to be Peter Dinklage's Tyrion. The guy is funny at every turn, but he's constantly giving you wisdom. Mm-hmm. When he's and fortunately, from my reading of the book, I'm about a third the way into it. A lot of the dialogue on the show is pulled directly from the book. And I can't help now but see the characters as they're speaking as the people who play them on the show, especially because the words are identical from the book to the show. But he's a guy who has no illusions about the world and his place in it. He is the son of a nobleman, but as he tells John the Bastard, all dwarfs are bastards in the eyes of their fathers. He knows my father is the head, Lannister, but I'm a dwarf. I don't mean shit to him. And I'm certainly not the firstborn. And so he tries to look at the world and take from it what he can. And I love it. I love this show from beginning to end. And I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite show of all time because it's only one season in, but it's up there. It's going to number one with a bullet.
Here's one thing I really liked about this show that I didn't mention earlier. Obviously you have some of your characters that you really either like to love or love to hate, like I said. Ned Stark, is it Viserys, is that how you pronounce it? Targaryen. Yeah. Obviously the queen, Cersei, like you just hate these people. Joffrey, you just hate him with a passion. But then you have characters that like over just 10 episodes, your thought process of them or what you think of them completely shifts from the beginning of the show to the end. Example, Drago. Mm-hmm. Like at first you're like, oh my God, this guy's just treating her like shit, like he owns her, this kind of stuff. And then by the end of the series, they're in love. They're calling each other,
mm-hmm. They're right. They're in
my
love.
moon and stars.
Yeah, I mean, you say that like it's goofy, but I mean that was touching to me. The relationship that developed into, and how devastated she was when he died, or when he was.
Well,
when
she
he was
really
sick.
killed him, actually. So,
well,
she did. She killed him. Congratulations, dumbass.
She allowed him to.
Yeah.
No, if you remember, she killed him. She said, "Nope,
well,
nobody,
come in here,
witch, and tend to that wound." And then,
But even like Brian said earlier, the character Sansa Stark, you just, what the hell is wrong with you? And then by the time at the end, when her father gets killed, you just feel so incredibly bad for her. She faints at his death. I mean, and you can just see the hatred in her face, and you actually side with her a little bit more.
Yeah, and even on that ledge after she gets slapped, and I don't think it was the Hound. I think it was the other guy that was there. I think the Hound actually handed her the little
like
handkerchief or something. Yeah, mm-hmm. but like she goes to she's actually stepping forward to push him off the ledge, and you see her look down, and she wouldn't have done that earlier in the series.
Yeah,
but she did. She's like, okay. She started, something inside her changed, mm-hmm. and she's apparently becoming a tougher broad.
And and the fact that they can do that in so short of a series. I mean, it's only 10 episodes. That much of emotion from one end of the spectrum to the other within a single season is, I think, a credit to the series, and I cannot wait for season 2.
Now let me ask you guys, because we're going to go into what we didn't like. We hope they address kind of section where I'm supposed to start, but I want to ask real quick: is there anything that you three actually don't like or wish they would address? I know I'm supposed to start, but I got a feeling that I'm really the only one that's going to have anything to say. So, anyone, chime in. Here's your time before I speak.
I really, honestly, I wish, because I actually thought about this. I said, okay, I kind of try to be objective about it and just kind of step back from it. And the only thing is, like, I hated waiting a year for season 2. Mm-hmm. This show has stuck with me for a year now. Uh-huh. And I love it just as much now as I did a year ago. And I just can't, there's really nothing bad about it that I can say.
All right.
The only thing negative I could say, and it's something that I like. I already mentioned that I like the nudity and the sex and that kind of stuff.
Some of that is a bit gratuitous.
Yeah, some of it is so gratuitous, like it's just not completely necessary. Like not that I
Some
have
of
a
it?
problem with. Most of it. But I mean, like the lesbian scene where the whore owner or whatever is like teaching her how to go down on the other chick and all this stuff. It's just like it didn't. I'm all about it, all about boobs and stuff like that. But like that was hard for me to watch with my wife. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, she's uncomfortable watching that. So that's the thing is I think a lot of that's going to turn people off from the series. Within the first episode, there's just gratuitous sex. And I think a lot of people are going to miss out on that because a lot of people don't want to see that stuff. That's the only negative thing I can really think of.
Justin, what about you?
Well, I mean, in reference to that scene, you could say it's gratuitous, but what it does is it speaks to the character, and I hate that I don't remember his name, but
Baelish, they call him Littlefinger.
Right, Littlefinger. It speaks to who he is.
I agree with
He's
that
this
one.
guy who runs a brothel. He has always aspired to more, but he knows that he will never get it. And so the only real power he has is through this brothel and through the whores that work in it. And he has got to bend those women and the people in it to his will by controlling her and making these characters do what they do. That's him flexing his power, what little power he's got. And you could say it's gratuitous, and maybe it is, but that character ends up being a pivotal character in the final, couple of episodes when he betrays Ned and reveals himself as what he always really kind of said that he was.
Mm-hmm.
And he
says early on that you got to look
me.
out for him. And Ned unfortunately didn't. And it came to bite him in the ass, but he's a character that has very little power, and so he's going to flex it when he can. And with those women, he can do that. Is it ultimately necessary? Maybe not. But I love that there are very few characters in the show that don't get the service that they should. And he's an important one. My only thing that I wish the show did more is I wish that we got some real big battle scenes. And I understand they're expensive, but when you've got this war with all these forces at play, maybe I got spoiled by the Lord of the Rings films, but I wish we could get more sense of these armies on the march, instead of just kind of seeing the aftermath and the talks leading up to them. But other than that, the show's brilliant, and every dollar spent is up there on that screen, and it looks fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now it's my turn. I don't love the show like these guys. I don't suck the teat of Game of Thrones, but I like
Dude,
it.
I'm double fisting the teeth.
Yeah, I know you are. So I'm going to give you my 3 biggest problems with the show, and I'll do the one that's going to cause the 20-minute fucking rant last. Okay. I agree with Scott. Some will say that the sex is a plus. I disagree with that. I could do without it most of the time. I do agree with Justin. That one scene, I saw the relevance. But unless it's part of the story, I don't care about oodles of boobs and sex in a story, because sex really takes me out of it unless it's part of the story. Most of the sex in this film is not. I think
TV show.
It's not part of the story. It's not. It's just there because it's gratuitous. You can work around it if you really wanted to. And I think actually storytelling gets stronger when you do try to work around it. But it's one of the reasons why I don't like True Blood at all. I can't stand True Blood because the sex is not relevant at all, and it takes the story from a deep moment into extreme exploitation.
I don't see how you could say that, because the sex these characters have speaks to who they are. Like Peter Dinklage's character, Tyrion. The dude is a midget that if he wasn't a Lannister, he would not get really any play whatsoever. But because he has that name, he can, and he wields what little power he has. He wields it by getting these women to get in bed with him and treating them the way that he does. These people, so much of the story involves the lineage of these characters and who's going to marry whom and who's going to bear the child of whom, and the dirtiness of the lives of these people. And sex is a part of that. And I'm kind of the opposing opinion. I hate that sex is so whitewashed out of so much of what we see. And I understand it when it's on a network television show that has to, meet certain standards and can't show certain things. But sex is at the heart of of who we are as a people. We exist now because billions of people have been fucking for thousands of years. That is an intrinsic element of us as...
I get that, Justin.
Before we get too deep into philosophies and stuff here.
Sorry,
let me just be clear. Even the scene where
Khal Drogo is banging Danny, Dothraki style. You throughout the episodes, even though you see a lot of sex between them, you do see that you really kind of see you see the change in it. You see her just taking it, and then you see her giving it.
No, I get that, but there's a problem when I see almost every major female character has to be naked at some point in the series, and it's not always relevant. If you guys want to sit there and argue that all day long, that's bullshit. It's not. There is a lot of relevance, and I agree with Justin and the one that Scott was referencing. I saw the relevance, but there's also a lot of just gratuitous nudity. You know how I know it's gratuitous? Because everybody's like, "Oh, there's so much boobs." That's what they say. They don't say, "Well, that sex scene was so relevant to the story." It's not. It was just boobs because it brings people in. And that's bullshit that you're going to sit there and try to act like it's not, like there isn't gratuitous nudity in there just to be gratuitous. It is. It's there to bring viewers in. That's what they're doing it for. And I'm fine with that. But it takes me out of the story.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what problem I have with the show. I don't think that it's not like True Blood. True Blood, that show actually could be a really clever show, but they do it just to fucking have nudity. It's totally exploitation. It's not part of the story, very rarely. It's just meant to be sex. Okay, sex sells, I get it. But there is a lot of gratuitous where it takes me out of Game of Thrones. There's several instances where I was like, God, seriously? This isn't even necessary. And it takes me out of it. Now, it's not to the point of True Blood where it annoys me. But there are several times where it just wasn't relevant, and it was just like, all I could think was, well, because it's on HBO, we have to see your boobs every time. I mean, just can I pay attention to what the story is? I don't understand.
I agree with you because, to a certain extent, they could probably pull it back a little bit. There's like the scene where Roz is riding off on the turnip cart and she flashes Theon Greyjoy.
There's a nice example.
Is that really? It's not really necessary to, show your hoochie, but okay, whatever. But and there's in the right before Ned Stark and his men are killed, but he's wounded. He's in the whorehouse talking with Baelish, Lord Baelish, and one of his women she's staring at Ned's right hand man, Jory, and she's like pulling her shirt open, and okay, that's probably unnecessary. But there's only a small handful of stuff was really unnecessary.
I said if it's part of the story, I'm fine with it. It's the part it's when it's not part of the story that irritates me.
But that's what I'm saying is I think the majority of it really kind of does play to the story.
Almost every major character needs to be naked. Really? I counted. Almost every major female character in the series is naked at some point.
Okay, Cersei wasn't naked.
She was. She was bent over and you saw her ass. That's naked where I come from.
You see the side of her leg.
You see her ass, dude. Go watch it again. He's banging it to her.
And that
he's giving it to her brother.
But that one I would say is relevant to the story.
He's giving it to her brother style.
Yeah, that one's relevant to the story. I think you have to see that to really see the shock value. But I don't want to sit there and
I will say that the nudity never took me out of the story at all. Like I wasn't distracted enough that I was taken out of the universe or the world or the story or anything like that. I'm saying for someone like my wife who doesn't care, could do without it. It was distracting more for me because I can't. I have a hard time.
It made her uncomfortable. Therefore, it kind of made you uncomfortable.
Right. Like I don't have a problem with it.
You like boobs?
I'm like, yeah, but
at least somebody on this show does.
I like boobs a lot.
Apparently not.
I like them better when it's part of the story.
I like them better when they're in my hands.
Oh, Jesus. All right. The other thing that I like.
Motorboat.
Or the other thing there's three things that I wish would change, because apparently you guys can't think of anything, really.
I had the same one you did, bitch.
I completely disagree with you guys in terms of the villains. I think they're fucking cookie cutter, mustache twirling motherfuckers. Or several of them are. Not all of them. There's actually some really well done villains. The Lannisters are none of them. I think they're so fucking mustache twirling, it makes me sick. Those guys are the main thing that kept me from loving the show, are the Lannisters. Because the last thing, the one that I'll talk about in a minute, that didn't really take me out of the show. It just really irritated me. This took me out of the show, with the exception of the relationship between Peter Dinklage and his brother Jamie, I can't remember that guy's name, but
yeah, Jamie.
That relationship is the only thing in that whole family that seems genuine and human to me. The rest of that Lannister clan are so over the top, ridiculously evil, and that part gets old with me. I like villains, who doesn't? But in a world like as rich as this, because I do believe the characters are drawn very rich, very deep. And there's true consequences for everybody, but it really bothered me that the humanity in those particular people are lacking. They're just basically evil. All they want is power. They don't care about anything except bucking each other and getting that power. That's it. But everybody else has very deep motives, very, very deep ambitions. They're really thought out. They have a deep storyline. The Lannisters seem so fucking cookie cutter. It's ridiculous. Just ridiculous.
The only one that's
about.
I'm sorry.
I really wish
I'm not the only one that thinks that. I've talked to several people at work that watch it and said the exact same thing. So I don't know why you guys don't see it, other than your unadored worship of the show.
The only Lannister that's power hungry is Cersei. Jamie doesn't. He doesn't like the political games. In the very first episode.
No, but he's very mustache twirling evil. There's nothing redeeming about him.
No.
There's nothing redeeming. Name one redeeming thing, and with the exception of his relationship with his brother, which I said, name one thing that makes him human. That doesn't make him just a villain. He's just a bad guy. And I'm giving you the whole season to play out. The whole season. Outside of that brother relationship, he didn't do anything that made him. Everybody else had their ups and their downs. Ned did a lot of good shit, a lot of dumb shit. His wife did a lot of good shit, a lot of dumb shit. Peter Dinklage, a lot of good shit, dumb shit. But the Lannisters, the Queen, Jamie, and the dad's the worst. I mean, there's nothing good about him.
Right.
And Joffrey, there's nothing good about any of them. Nothing.
Why do we have to have good things about our villains?
Because it's human. That's what makes a character human. And that's what's missing. And I'm telling you what I want to see from the show. That's what's missing from those characters. There's no human aspect to them. They're just villains. That isn't, when you make the rest of the show with deep characters that can see the plus, the good, and the evil, you can see the plus and the minus, but you get these specific characters that are just bad.
You're a buzzkill.
I don't care if I'm a buzzkill. I don't think
you're actually thinking about these characters deeply enough. Cersei, when her husband is out whoring around, you can see the pain of that on her face. You can see the pain of knowing that she will always play second fiddle to Ned's sister that Robert never got over, will always love. When in the very first episode, when Robert says, "I want to go down to the crypt," he knows why, Ned knows why, Cersei knows why, and it hurts Cersei to see that. She has basically spent her entire adult life married to a man that she doesn't love and whose family that she feels is better than his, and she will do whatever it takes to get her family into power, not herself, but her son. And so that's every move she makes is to get her son into that seat of power. Maybe being a little power hungry makes her cookie cutter. I don't know, but I saw within her face all the things that have hurt her and have worked against her, and how that has hardened her against all the things that she now has to do to get her son that she fiercely loves into a position of authority. She's a woman who basically was told what to do, and now that she's got some power, she'll exercise it whenever she can. Like when she orders the death of the dire wolf that hurt her son. You can see right on her face. She does it because she knows it hurts Ned, and because she doesn't want Ned to come and be the hand of the king. There are so many elements.
Yes, because she's
these
evil.
Characters, if you actually watch them and think about it, they do have human elements.
No, they don't. I watched them. I'm thinking about it. They did not.
That's
such a load of shit. There's nothing nice that woman does in the whole
They don't have to be
season.
nice to be human. There are lots of people who are out there that are fucking not nice. They're still people. Show me the niceness of a Hitler. You're not going to see that played up in a film.
I understand we each have different perspectives, but I'm saying from the perspective of this show, when you paint every character as black and as being very gray and having a black and a white side, very clearly having a plus and a minus, so to speak, but these particular characters are just black. There's no white. That is poor writing, my opinion. Not poor writing, but the writing is offset.
I'm
sorry. I thought this was an opinion. I thought I could have an opinion just because I don't love it like you guys. I don't suck the dick of fucking Game of Thrones.
Right. Okay, let's just say there is no depth to them. They're just evil so be it.
We can say
There's
because there is none.
There's 50 other characters in this show that more than make up for those 2 or 3 people.
No, I'm talking about the things that I don't like about the show, or I hope they improve.
Okay, I know you don't like the fact that these are not well written characters. You don't like the fact that
them. The rest of the characters are well written. Just them.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. Is just those 2 or 3 people are not as deep as you want them to be, or not as faceted as you want them to be.
They're not deep at all.
Everybody else in the whole series is. That's like 50 people more than any other show on any other freaking channel.
Come on. These are the primary characters, some of the primary characters in the show. That's who this whole show is based upon.
Okay,
these characters, I think, should be improved.
We'll narrow it down to the primary people, and we're still down to a dozen. That's still 4 times as many, at least, if not more, than any other show on TV.
But
most shows on TV
don't believe I've said I really like the show. I'm not saying that the show could be taken off the air because of it. I said it should be improved.
You wanted to prove to us how single dimensional these people are. And that's fine. I'll even give you that. But there are so many other characters that more than make up for whatever they're lacking.
I'm not arguing.
I just don't know how you can call it lazy writing when you've got
I said those characters.
I know it. But I don't know I still don't see how you can say that when you've got the majority of the cast, like I said, 25, 50 other characters who are so multidimensional that they more than cover whatever slack that these people might have.
I'm telling you the things that kept me from loving this show. If these characters were more well written, I would love the show. These are actually these are the characters that took me out of it.
You are one picky son of a bitch.
Yes.
There's a difference, though, between not having depth and just having depth you don't like.
No,
These
there's no
characters
depth.
have got tons of depth.
They do not.
But you
I
just
disagree.
don't want to see it. I've explained how there's depth.
I saw what you were looking for. It's not there.
Oh, please, you don't have to look for it. It's there on the screen.
It is not. There is no yes, you can try and spin it. She's just evil. That's all she is. She's
just evil to you.
No, she's just evil. Just evil. I'm not the only person. I'm not the first person that said this.
Well, then
they're
you're
just
wrong,
evil.
and whoever you talk to is wrong. There.
All right. Let's go
Case closed.
Let's go to the last thing. No, that case is firmly open. The last thing that everybody's going to tell me how wrong I am, but I really don't care. I don't care if this was written in the books. I don't care what anybody says. This is my opinion, and thankfully, I can have it if I want. Ned's death. Ned's little beheading. I'm going to preface this with I was not mad at all that he died. Not one little bit. If it serves the story, it serves the story. It's just how it happened that I have a problem with. I thought it was a total betrayal. Let me finish what I'm saying before you guys jump down my fucking throat and tell me how stupid I am. I thought it was a total betrayal of that character's nobility and his honor to the throne. And I know what everyone is going to say, and I'll preface this with, I disagree with you. I think you're wrong. I think I'm right. You think you're right. We'll have to agree to disagree. But I don't see it the same way you're going to tell me you see it, because we've already had these conversations. I do not think the couple sentences stated in the dungeons, vaguely implying that maybe he should do this for his daughters, would be enough to change Ned's mind. I think they painted Ned as this character. The writers did. I don't care what was in the books. I'm telling you what I saw on the show. That they painted this character as someone that couple sentences wouldn't be enough to change his mind. I have no idea how he was in the book, nor the circumstances in the book, and I really don't care what happened in the book, because that's not what I watched. It doesn't apply in this medium. I'm solely addressing this show and how it was presented to me. Fair enough? Okay, nobody's listening. As they sold Ned to me, he was adored by the king, loved him even more than his own brothers. Ned knew Joffrey was not the rightful heir. He would never brand his wife, daughters, and sons as family of traitors, brand Winterfell as home of a lord traitor, just for that couple sentences that one bald motherfucker tried to sell him in a dungeon. He would not based on how they wrote that character, how the writers wrote that character. I felt this was strictly a throw convention to the wind, look what we did move, and I've heard the arguments before. I just think you guys adore the show too much and you give it a pass. But I totally think it was a total betrayal of that character. One of the biggest things I didn't like about the whole show, where I literally couldn't watch the final episode because I was so irritated with how poorly written I thought that was. Go ahead. Curse me.
Don't watch season 2. Don't watch season 2 because I'm not liking you right now. And I don't want you pissing in my cornflakes anymore.
Wow.
It doesn't taste good.
That's the rebuttal. I'm not going to get castrated. You know you want to. Here's your chance. Go ahead. I'm telling you the things I didn't like. That was the biggest thing I didn't like. It was such a joke. And to hear everybody, not everybody, but I had several people I had this conversation.
No, just the most people who, like it and,
No, several people that love the show understood what I was saying. So I don't understand why you guys don't see my point. Because it seems like people give it a pass just because, I think what it was.
I understand your point, but you're wrong.
No, not. It was strictly a look.
We're
going to throw Convention to the wind. We're going to kill off a lead character, and that's exactly what happened in the books. We're going to throw Convention to the wind. I'm going to kill off a lead character because that'll shake things up. People won't expect that. I get that, and I'm fine with it. I don't care. I like the surprise of it. I thought the way that he did it was the half-ass
He would
part.
much rather have his family alive and branded as traitors.
Such bullshit. Bullshit. That's not the character they wrote. It is not the character they wrote. That is a cop-out. I think it's an easy way to say it because you want to believe, because you really like the show and you really like what Sean Bean, which he was fantastic, but he looks pathetic at the end.
We could just as easily sit here and say, you are so wrong because we overhyped it and you went into it with these expectations and so you're hating it just because we all like it.
I don't hate
and that
it.
argument has just as much validity as you sitting there saying, well, you guys love it so much that you're willing to give it a pass. So how are we supposed to argue something when you have obviously closed off your mind to any kind of conversation about it?
You just told me I was wrong.
It doesn't fucking matter. The point is that Ned Stark never wanted to be the Hand. He didn't want to go down there. He hates these political games. He never wanted to be involved. All he wanted to do was stay up in Winterfell, control his little dominion, and have it be done with that. But because of his love for Robert Baratheon, he went down, he became the Hand, and suddenly he's thrust into all of this mystery about what really caused, who killed the Hand of the King before him.
And
what was the whole reason for it? He doesn't want to play these games. He's not good at it. He knows he's not good at it. He and Robert have their own problems. When Robert wants to send assassins to kill Dany Targaryen, he doesn't want to have anything to do with it. He fights the king on this because he knows it's a bad move. They're showing that even against his own king, he's going to stand up for what he thinks he has to do. And when he sees his daughters...
You're proving exactly what I'm saying.
When he sees that his daughters are now in the hands of a king that he doesn't believe in, his loyalty was to Robert. Robert is dead. He now has no loyalty to that throne. He has no love for the people that sit on it. The only thing that matters to him now is his family. The nobility of it doesn't matter. And saving his daughters and sacrificing his life so that he can't be used against them and they won't be hurt to be used against him, to me is the true nobility of that character. He has always been about family. He knows that Robert and everyone up north can defend themselves if he were to not do what he's supposed to do, what might be the ramifications. His nobility is to his family, and that's who he's defending throughout the whole thing. That's who he gives his life for.
And
it's not me giving it a pass just because I like
them
the
a
show.
traitor. Being branded a traitor, branding the family a traitor, causes more pain to them. I'm sorry.
No, it does not.
He does
because
too.
The people who sit on the throne,
he says he won't do that. But suddenly, because it suits the shock value they're going for, then suddenly it's okay.
And see, that's why we shouldn't be having this conversation, because you are convinced that this is bent this direction. I'm convinced that's bent another, and you're just not going. We're not going to agree. He has no loyalty to the throne once Robert is dead. He has loyalty to his family.
He seemed to for quite some time, up until the end of that episode. He had loyalty to that throne up until the very end of the episode, when suddenly, well, shit, I guess I better brand myself a traitor.
Possibly something that he could do to change things that wouldn't involve his death, he was all for it. But when you've got the queen, and you've got her son, and you've got the Lannisters, and you've got everybody in court that are opposed to you and conspiring against you, what does a man have left to do? He can't do anything except sacrifice himself so that his daughters won't be hurt because he stays obstinate.
His men are killed. you're right. He's got nobody. All of his men are killed. The one guy that he thought he could trust, even though he told him he shouldn't trust him, screwed him over. He's got nothing. He's got no other cards to play.
He's broken at this point.
That's the only card he's got to play to save his family.
He was broken before that moment. He really was. And I'm sorry, from what I saw, I don't agree with you.
Your brain is broken.
What would have been the noble move for him to do?
I don't know. Apparently, I'm just...
Yeah, but what do you think he should have done?
To hold stand.
You're
to
Ned,
hold his nobility.
What do you do?
Excellent question, Scott.
I can promise you, I never would have done that. I never would have done that. I would have you could have executed me, done whatever you want, but I would have died not being branded a traitor. I wouldn't. Sorry. Kill me. And I think that's how they wrote the character, that he wouldn't betray his king and claim that
he didn't betray his king. His king was dead.
He betrayed his king by lying.
No, he did not. His king's already dead. You cannot betray a ghost.
God.
You live for the people who are alive.
You don't live for the
people
stuck
who
by
are
that
dead
even after Robert was dead. He still stuck by that up until the end of that episode. He stuck through it through a whole episode and he knew his king was dead, so he knew Joffrey had become the king, and he still honored that because Robert was his king, and it was the right thing.
There was some way he could get out of it.
I don't think he thought that at all. There's no indication that he thought he'd get out of it. Zero.
His continued defiance is the indication.
No, that was the indication of his nobility. Because he was...
fucking please. Oh. All right, I'm done with talking about this. You are not going to convince me otherwise.
So, our favorite
I'm not
characters.
Convince you.
I don't...
It's
a matter of opinion.
I think you went into it gonna find something that the rest of us were too dumb to see, and you were gonna.
Oh, and that's the cop out.
I don't know.
Fuck both of you, because I'm going to tell you right now, that's a bullshit answer. Because I went into it with all these high hopes about it. I wasn't looking for anything wrong with it. I knew about his death, and I was looking forward to seeing how that played out. I didn't know it was going to be a total pussy cop out.
So long as you use the argument that we love it so much that we're blind to its faults, I'm going to use the argument that you went into it looking for something to hate, and we're both just as capable of being right as the other. I think those are both weak arguments, but I'll counter your weak argument with my own.
I think we're both right then.
So my favorite characters...
Go ahead, Scott.
Well, I already told Justin's, but Tyrion Lannister. How can you not love this character? He's so much fun to watch in every scene he does because he's a Lannister. He's got a ton of money. Everybody knows his name. He's a freaking dwarf, and he embraces it. Even like he just loves it, and women are all over him. Everything he says is witty. Like Justin said, you're getting some kind of pearl of wisdom from him out of every situation. Every scene that he's in is entertaining as hell. I liked him a lot. I actually also really like the character of Jon Snow, even though he's a minor character. Aaron's favorite as well.
He's my favorite character.
I just feel bad for the guy. I like because he's hated by Caitlyn. She just despises him. In his first couple episodes, you can tell she just wants him dead, wants nothing to do with him.
Yeah, I like that they didn't tell you exactly why off the bat. I mean, you really have to.
Yeah, you got to really pay attention.
He's a walking example, a reminder of her husband's infidelity.
Exactly, and it's just exactly, yeah. But I love that he's accepted the fact that I'm not really liked here. I'm gonna go do my own thing, and how he's just a likable character, even on the wall, like Brian knows all the names. The fat kid that nobody likes, and
Sam.
Yeah, Sam
kid. I really thought he was going to have more of an arc.
I did too. But I love the relationship between those on the wall. And how can you not freaking like Drago? That dude just, even from his opening scene, it was just so cool to watch.
Fucking fight scene was awesome.
That was
he rips
my
that guy's tongue out. That was sweet.
From the inside.
Yeah.
From the inside. So those are my three favorite. I mean, there's so many to like. There's so many little characters to hate as well. We all loved Ned. He was fun to watch. You just liked that one character.
Scene, yeah.
So those were my favorites. I'm sure there's gonna be some overlap here.
No, actually, you named all of mine. Jon Snow, who I loved. I really, not so much the character arc, because I thought the arc was kind of, I thought they were going to go a little bit more, where he's going to go help Dad a little bit.
Well, I think we're going to see what's going to happen.
I hope so. I'm sure he'll be part of an avenging at some point. But I really like the actor that plays him.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what his name is, but he was really good. He's
Kit
really good.
Harington.
He really made me care about that character. He did a great job of making him
Believable.
very, very believable, and he seems the most out of all the Stark kids to be the most like his dad. You know, the most honorable and noble, and I mean, he just seems like the true heir to Eddard Stark or whatever his name is.
Mm-hmm.
And Jason Momoa, who played, was it Drago?
Drago.
Awesome. That dude's awesome. I was so sad when he died.
Oh,
So sad. So sad. What about you guys?
Well, I mean, Tyrion's great. I really found myself rooting quite a bit for Daenerys Targaryen. You know, the poor girl starts off a complete pawn to her brother. And, you know, she's just going to be used and abused in whatever way he has to get his throne. And just to see her evolution from this wilting wallflower of a girl to, you know, becoming really the queen of these people and gaining these dragons that, you know, her brother had always talked about how they were the blood of the dragon. And he really kind of embraced it, but you never really saw her embrace that dragon quality to her family. And then at the end to now have 3 on her shoulders. I really loved that evolution of her character and her strengthening and her, you know, she unfortunately falls victim to believing this woman is going to help her, even against the words of the people around her. And people do that. We listen to people we shouldn't. And she grows from that to become even stronger. I really do love her character. I'm curious to see what more they do with her.
Right.
I agree with that 100%. I was actually, when the show first started, she irritated me because I'm like, oh, great. This is going to be like the typical whiny waif who, oh, I wish I could change my life. And then she became like this awesome character somewhere in the middle. And that was, I really liked her arc. And I really liked her and, like you were saying, Drago's arc, because they were becoming in love. And that was really sweet.
Brian, what was the name of her like right-hand guy? That was.
Yeah, he was one of my favorites actually.
He was
Jorah
awesome.
Mormont. He was the guy that was banished by Ned Stark for slave trading, I believe. And before he was sentenced, he hauled ass. So he's kind of in exile also. So I'm curious to see how his.
I really think, honestly, I got the feeling that Ned hired him. For some reason, I just got the vibe that I think he's just telling people that Ned had a bounty on his head, and I think he's actually was there from Ned. I think Ned or somebody from Ned's area sent him.
No, Ned tried to have him killed.
I know that's what they keep saying, but my gut says because
Trying to read between the lines or whatever.
a little bit, because basically we're implying that, you know, they knew that, I don't know, something happened. I can't remember for the life of me what it was in the episode that made me think that, but.
That brings up an interesting question, actually. And I know, Brian, you're in the middle. I apologize, but there's a huge connection between the Lannisters and the Starks, obviously, like throughout the story. But doesn't it seem like the Targaryens are just kind of that whole story has like seems to have nothing to do with everything else that's going on, or am I just missing that?
Well, they were banished. You know, her father was known as the Mad King. Was, you know, he was the one on the throne whenever Robert. Took over.
Okay.
Whenever he started up that rebellion, bam, but he's the one they kicked out. So, you know, they were exiled, and that's kind of where they ended up, was across the narrow sea over Pentos,
out of the reach of the Seven Kingdoms.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
So,
and I didn't pick up on that.
That's why they are just on a completely different, you know, area as everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, trying to get back, or Viserys was trying to get, you know, raise up an army to take his kingdom back, because he was technically the heir to the throne. So, now I'm not sure what exactly Daenerys, what her plans are, but I know she's got a few dragons and a handful of people, but I'm sure she picks up more. But I mean, even still, they're still out in the desert. I mean, she's still got to. I mean, it's nice to have some dragons, but you got to have water too. So, but I'll tell you one of the guys I like that. I mean, I like Tyrion. I like Lord Baelish, the Littlefinger,
brothel owner.
The brothel owner.
He was just
I like the guy that you're. He's kind of similar to Tyrion. He's real quick witted. He's real kind of sneaky.
Mm-hmm.
You're not real sure which way you're always. He made me be very suspicious of him.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And Braun, he was
The kid?
No,
It's Bran.
yeah, that's Bran. That was Braun is the mercenary that took up for Tyrion.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
And he kind of becomes his
His little right hand.
yeah.
That was
And
cool.
he's just, he's just kind of like, I'm not going to, he goes, yeah, hey, look, all right, I'll stick around, but, don't expect me to bow. And, every time you want to take a shit or something like that, he just, so, yeah, I liked him.
Well, what do you guys
What
think?
was up with that sister?
Which sister?
Up in the Airy with that boy sucking
With
in
the-
her
with the
tit all the
Asian-
time?
Yeah,
Oh,
that was
yeah.
A freak show that was.
Like,
that
she
was-
had a really nice pair of boobs, though. You guys like boobs?
Yeah,
there
she
you
was
go.
so ugly. Oh, God.
Was it part? Was
How did they get away with
I'm
that?
not sure if that one's pertinent to the story or not, but it was a nice boob.
Well,
But it speaks to just
Ugly lady, though.
the mental breakdown of that
Yeah.
woman.
Exactly.
And her, unfortunately, her household kind of follows suit.
Yeah, and the kid's like, "Mom, I'm hungry. Mom, I'm hungry." Well, of course he's hungry. I'd be hungry too if I was 26 and breastfeeding.
How did they
my
get
You're
kid.
getting
I don't think he was that old.
how did they get away with that? Because unless that
Because
kid-
it's HBO. I'm surprised that they got that on TV.
well, it's a prosthetic boob for one.
Okay.
You hope.
I didn't.
I'm
I
pretty
didn't.
sure.
I don't know. I'd love to be the director. Here, I need to rehearse this myself. Hang on a second. Let's check this out.
But what parent says, okay, yeah, you can go ahead and suck on that fake boob and be on TV? I mean,
The one that wants their kid on TV?
yeah.
But there are certain characters who have a good sword arm, and that's how they deal with the world. But then you've got people like Tyrion and Littlefinger who they don't have that sword arm. They don't have that combat ability, so they make up for it in wit and learning and conniving, from a distance. And I like that you see those different aspects of how to play the game.
Right.
Some people do it with iron and some people do it with their tongue.
Yeah, exactly. Littlefinger said pretty much the same thing. He says, hey, they've got their weapons. I've got mine.
Yep.
Mhm.
So
Awesome.
The one thing I really like this, but it concerns me to some degree going into what's coming up on season 2 is that the show started off very much just people, just characters, just people, no real fantasy elements to really any degree other than what they talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But as the series continues up into probably the last 2 or 3 episodes, they really started to introduce like a couple fantasy elements with like the blood sacrifice, the blood magic and stuff, and
the dragons.
and then dragons, of course. That I'm really concerned with. Now I don't know how the books progress, but does it still like walk that fine line, or does it become more fantastical as it goes?
I haven't read
from
them.
what I haven't read them, but from what I understand, it does get more fantasy-ish.
Really? Because that
Fantastical,
concerns me a
whatever.
little bit. Because like Justin was saying, I really like that they were staying more grounded. I don't want to see a bunch of orcs and Gandalf and you shall not pass and shit right in the middle. That would really, I think, taint a really good episode.
Well,
A
like
really good series,
Stannis Baratheon is coming in, and his right hand person is actually a witch.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll probably have a little bit of magic. Daenerys has the dragons. I'm sure they'll get bigger. They'll cause more havoc. But I don't really feel that it's going to center around that. I think they will be an ingredient.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really think that it's going to center around the, special effects, magic-y, that kind of stuff.
Everyone that's listened to this, that's read the books, is like screaming at their iPods right
Yeah.
now.
Right, exactly. They're like, you stupid ass, you don't.
Well, maybe as winter comes and the White Walkers start
Finally.
making their way further
Oh.
south, then you might see more, creature effects. But I really don't think you've got much to worry about. Even when they had that moment of blood magic, you didn't get that Conan the Barbarian scene where the, fucking red drawing things are coming out, swirling around. They really took a light touch. And other than the dragons, I really doubt you're certainly not gonna see, the fucking orc army marching across the field. I think it'll still stay very grounded in the human element.
Thank God. Especially with the drag, it was really funny. My wife was watching it. She loved the show. She agreed with me about that thing. But that was the one scene where, even though she was very much into it, because she loves that sword and sandal and mythological, loves Lord of the Rings, that sort of thing, just laughed out loud when the dragon came out.
I love that.
She just laughed. I mean, like hysterical laughing. She couldn't stop laughing because she thought that was, in her opinion, that was the cheesiest moment of the show. And I knew it was coming, so it really wasn't.
Yeah, that was my thing. It was something that I saw coming a mile away, but
it was kind of cheesy. It was kind of cheesy. Now, it could have been the special effects, and plus, okay, now I see him on the screen, like, wow, that's really.
I thought it was cool.
No, it was.
I thought it was fucking badass.
It was. I just thought
because there's her blood, her dragon blood coming out. These dragon eggs. How old did they say they were? Thousands of years old.
Thousands of years old.
But it's because of her and her sacrifice and her lineage, and somehow that all came together to hatch these eggs. And I have no idea where the story is going, but I have a feeling that her and those dragons are going to be a force to be reckoned with.
I'm also excited.
I hope we see her like having to feed them and take them out for shit and stuff. That would be kind of cool.
Okay.
Like training them.
That's a pooper scooper. You don't want to be on the wrong end.
She's raising them like puppies.
I'm really excited, and again, everyone that's read the books already is going to be pissed at me for bringing this up, but like I'm interested to see who Jon Snow's mother is.
Yeah, me too.
That's like.
Oh, I could tell you that. It's just a serving wench. It's no one special.
Oh, okay.
Unless they change it from the book. From what I've read of the book, she's just purely a serving wench.
Oh, because they kind of built that up to like it was going to be something.
Not that it might be a character that we know, but that it might be a character.
I want to know about my mother. I'll tell you when I get back. And of course, she never does because his head's rolling around on a spike somewhere.
So does Caitlin know?
That's really that's one of the little things that I like about this show is that you may not, you might not ever know, like Jorah Mormont. I mean, you may never know if he, what really happened with him or what have you. It's just, they'll throw these things out there and it might get cleared up later.
As long as they don't do it 90 times like they did in freaking Lost.
Jeez.
Right.
So what do you guys hope happens this season? I mean, overall, like what storyline are you really hoping gets resolved, and which one do you kind of wish they'd drop?
Well, I want to see Robert Baratheon's bastard, who was working as a blacksmith. I kind of want to see what's going to happen with him, kind of how his character evolves.
Do you think they're going to address that, or they're going to keep going with that, or?
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't know if it would die with Ned.
They showed him walking off, to the wall with the, at the end of it.
Mm-hmm. I want to see what happens with Arya too, or is that how you say it?
Yeah, Arya,
the little girl.
Yeah, because
I like her a lot.
She's now posing as a boy, and she's going to be a fighter. I mean, she's gonna. I think.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if they're going to get an older actor or continue with her, but I think she's going to be a badass.
I think it's still her.
Is it?
Yeah.
And I want to see the Hound. The big scary burn face guy.
Oh yeah.
Because you get a little sense there, as he's loyal, he's loyal to Joffrey and everything. But you're getting kind of a sense there when he helps out Sansa. He kind of wipes her mouth and he tells her, look, just take it, go with it. You kind of wonder, he steps in right before she tries to push him off the ledge. So you kind of wonder, is he as loyal to Joffrey as we might think? So he's just a very interesting character.
I just hope Joffrey gets killed, even though I know he won't.
That character is pulled almost straight from Arthurian mythology of Mordred being the child of an incestual relationship between King Arthur and his half sister. That sort of character is a standard sort of archetype when it comes to fantasy. You even though you hate mustache twirling villains, sometimes you just need a good juicy evil fucker to send your people against. And it's great when you can have some villains that have got some depth and light and some shades of gray, but sometimes you just want fucking bad guys. And it almost ruins them sometimes when they get too humanized. Darth Vader. So you really want them to be bad. I'm curious mostly about Daenerys Targaryen and if she will be able to rally the rest of the Dothraki to fall under her, and what these dragons will do to help her do that, because dragons were not known really much in that area, and certainly not since they were all killed off and to suddenly have 3 with this woman. I'm curious to see what her story is going to be.
Yep.
But to me, it's the wall.
Mm.
That's the most interesting part, and what's going on north of it with these wildlings and the White Walkers. Winter's coming, and even though war is coming, winter is still coming.
Yeah,
so what does that mean? I can't wait to find out.
I really want to find out. Jon Snow is the arc and not just because I love the character and the actor. I think he's the one that has the most story to tell. And I just hope he leaves the Night's Watch and goes and does something a little more.
No, I think the Night Watch is really the heart of the story. They are what stands between the monsters of the snowy north and all of humanity to the south. They're the line of defense, and I think that story is going to be crucial. Jon Snow being there means something.
Yeah,
you're probably right.
He's not leaving. I mean, you just know he's not. I mean, you don't join that and then leave. I mean, they made that clear when he tried to leave, and his guys pulled him back. So, yeah, I don't see him leaving, getting some sort of a pardon for whatever reason, and going back. So, I think he's there for the long haul.
Now,
I'm anxious to see about the White Walkers and because Sam was like, hey, they asked him, what do you know about him? He says, well, I read this book. And they said, well, what did it say? Hey, what did it say about these guys? And he's like, I hope that wall's tall enough. So,
yeah,
I did. Big wall.
I did like that where they sleep for thousands of years, but when they wake up, look out.
Shit's on.
And slowly but surely. Now, what do you guys think? Now, all the advertisements for Game of Thrones is obviously season 2 is getting ready to start. Should be starting April 1st, unless it's a wicked joke.
Oh God, that would suck.
That would be priceless. They're advertising 5 kings, 1 throne. So obviously the entire season is going to be a power struggle because, as you saw at the end and as Justin covered earlier, everybody since Joffrey's in charge now, they're like, fuck that kid. And now they all want to be king of their own little areas, including Ned's son. Is it Robert, right? Yeah.
He's the king of the north.
Yeah, he's the king of the north. They're basically proclaiming the king of the north, and they no longer want to be affiliated with those fuckers. Which I don't blame them because that's a screwed up bunch.
Yeah.
Now,
but his main motivation though is, he's pissed off about his dad. So,
which understandable. But do you think it's going to play? I mean, obviously it's going to play in because your dad admitted he was a traitor, so you should just jump on board. And granted, I'm moving past how I feel about it. It's part of the story now. So, do you think that's really going to play into how it works? I mean, how they. Do you think they're going to throw that in there in terms of trying to get people to not jump on the separation bandwagon?
I think it will, but I think those people who knew Ned and knew Robert and knew, that understand the complexities of the relationships that develop in these, courtly proceedings, those people who knew Ned will know why he did what he did and won't believe it for a second. But there's always going to be an opportunist in the bunch. You can't not use that.
What I like about Rob is that he's not power hungry like all the others that are on a throne.
No,
somewhere.
he's revenge hungry.
He's revenge hungry, but he's also taking that role with grace, or not grace.
More purity of purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Now, who are the 5? Because maybe this is where I'm confused. You got Rob. You got the blonde chick. I can never get the names right. The blonde chick from Draco.
Cersei.
Thank you.
No.
The blonde chick with Draco.
Oh, Daenerys.
Daenerys. Okay, you got Daenerys. You got Rob. You've got Joffrey. Who are the other 2 kings that they're talking about? Because it says 5 kings.
Well, Stannis is a new one, right?
Yeah, if you were listening earlier when I went down the
thing. I don't have the names memorized.
Stannis Baratheon.
Okay. Yep. Well, she'll be back.
Now he's the one that Ned feels
the brother
felt was the he's the one that he says, well, he's the rightful heir, but they even tell him nobody really likes this guy, so he's like but really he's the oldest one. He's really the next in line because Joffrey technically isn't a Baratheon.
Mm-hmm.
So Stannis is. So they send word to Stannis. So Stannis is coming in, I'm assuming, thinking that, hey, all this shit's mine now. What? But then Renly, the gay little brother, he's starting to get feel his oats.
Okay.
So he's got the power of the people behind him, but he ain't exactly kingly.
Now this is the part where I want to be clear. So, would the brother be the true heir to well, he should be the true heir to the throne until Joffrey comes of age. But Joffrey is technically, I mean, granted, not everybody knows that he ain't really his kid, but he's technically the heir to the throne. Right? Joffrey is?
Right.
Okay. Because he is the son of the king. So therefore, he's entitled.
As far as most people know, right.
Right. Okay.
That's how I want Joffrey to get his in this series.
Oh.
Is I can't wait for the moment, hopefully it happens, where it's revealed to him that, guess what, you're not even related to the former king. Like, I just want to see the look on his face. Like,
yeah.
You know what, you're the son of a brother and
you know
sister.
who your dad is? Your uncle!
Yeah.
Ew.
And like, just like that.
Christmas is fucked up now, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're from West Virginia.
I'm looking more forward to that possibility than like a spear through his gut or something like that. Like, that's how I want that character to be destroyed, is the realization that he is a fucking incestual piece of shit, and he's gonna go from up top to bottom of the ladder. That's how I hope it plays out with him.
I like it. All right. Well, anybody want to finish with anything about Game of Thrones? Dun, 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 dun,
Don't
dun,
ever
dun.
talk to me about it again.
Don't watch season
unfortunately,
2.
I'm probably going to have to wait again until the DVDs come out since we don't have HBO.
Aw.
I have not watched a single trailer for season 2.
Me either.
I don't want to hear shit about it.
Oh.
I'll probably have read the book. Hopefully, I'll have read A Clash of Kings before the season comes out, because I am really loving A Game of Thrones, the novel. It is spectacular.
I'm actually watching it with a listener.
Yeah.
We're watching Sean. He's gonna be getting HBO. We're gonna watch it together. So
He invited me over too.
did he?
So I might.
No, you're not. You're not allowed.
You're not gonna make it. No, you're not allowed, Aaron.
Wait,
No.
Scotty, you close the door on that sumbitch.
let's have him listen to this first and see if you're
Haters
still
not
welcome.
allowed. Slam.
Guy has an opinion, suddenly he's a hater.
Oh, Aaron, we told you 6. It was actually 7. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, as
right.
much-
I have a cool friend that's gonna hook me up.
As passionate as you were about the parts that you hated, your gratuitous little, I like this. This was good. You know, it's good, but it's not great. Really doesn't hold much weight.
Okay.
It's you know.
I have an issue with one specific scene and a couple
You know,
things that I
it's
wish
like,
they would
it's
tone
like
down.
calling somebody in, you know, into your office and saying, "Hey, look, you know, you did good on this little job, but here's where you fucked up on these 5 things."
I'm pretty sure I had a severe issue with one scene, and then I wanted a couple other things toned down. That's what I said. That's pretty much all I have one impassioned reaction to a total betrayal of character.
Are we done arguing now?
It's not arguing. I'm
I
just
brought it
saying.
It's not arguing when Aaron's wrong.
That's right.
It's like Dad just smacked Mom at the dinner table.
Well, I wish that bitch would stay down. I'm talking about you, Brian. All right. Well, that is our Game of Thrones discussion. So that was season 1 we discussed ad nauseum.
Hope you stuck around.
Looking forward to season 2. I hope you stuck around. But if you just like our podcast, then make sure to listen to the normal podcast. I'm not going to go through all the tropes, but you can always find us at thehollywoodoutsider.com and on Facebook / The Hollywood Outsider, Twitter _outsider.
We're a lot less angry there.
Yeah, we're a lot less angry. It's happy every week. We're all love and smiles and puppy dog tails. And there's no excessive nudity. There's no really just betrayal of characters. It's all happy stuff. Except for Scott. We make fun of Scott a lot.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
he gets sad and cries. So make sure, if you've got HBO, watch Game of Thrones. If you haven't seen the show and for some reason you listen to this whole thing, I feel bad for you because really the whole show is spoiled for you at this point. But you should still watch it because it's that good, according to these guys.
Jeez.
Every thinking person on the planet.
I don't even know how to
Whatever.
respond to that.
All right. Well, catch HBO and catch the show. It is a really good show, really well told for the most part. These guys love it, and it's 3-1. So I'm the odd man out. So 3 guys worship this show, so they're probably right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And remember, the next time you go to a theater, after you watch the Blu-ray of Game of Thrones, buy popcorn.